Would you like to know what it feels like to go into hypnosis? If so, that's going to be the topic of today's recording because it's something that comes up quite a lot. People seem to be quite fascinated by what it is that it actually feels like to be in hypnosis, and sometimes they kind of nuance the question. It's like, well, my imagination's not that great, so is it going to work for me? Or there'll be some sort of element of, well, I don't want to be like a zombie. I don't want to tell you all the secrets that I've been holding on to all my life, or something like that. Okay. So let's start off with this idea of hypnosis is an I, not an it. So it's not a thing that somebody else places you in. It's very much a collaborative experience. But the experience that you have will depend upon, how you're feeling already that day, what it is that you're focused upon, what you're thinking about, what you're not thinking about, just where you are in the day. Your levels of energy, how tired you are, how optimistic you are, or negative you might be. All these things, you're going to bring your current head with you when you go into hypnosis. Then apparently different people are, there are different levels of what is called hypnotizability. Now, I'm not really sure about that because in order to produce a scientific investigation of what it is to be hypnotized, then you have to standardize. You have to give every one of your subjects the same hypnotic induction and see how that works out. And so, maybe I'll explain that to you a little bit later, but you're by definition going to end up with a whole variety of different results because people respond in different ways to certain things. But anyway, if we say that there might be differences in the degree to which at one particular time certain individuals may go into hypnosis or not, that you're going to go in with your current level of historical understanding and experience as to what it is. You're going to go in with your current set of fears and wants, and you're going to go in with your intention as to the extent, as to the degree to which you want to immerse yourself in the process. So there's a lot of variables going on. Let's maybe play around a little bit since everybody's different. So what I would suggest, obviously, I'll lead you through a couple of examples to show you maybe the range of experience. So please do not watch or listen to this whilst driving, whilst operating machinery. Only do so when it's kind of safe and appropriate to do so. Okay. So if that applies to you, please stop the recording and listen to it at a time when it's safe and appropriate to do so. Having accepted that is, I'm assuming now, the case, let's go with the sort of the very simple example. Okay. And for that, all you need to do really is close your eyes. If you're listening with headphones, that might be more interesting, actually, but it's not necessary. But yeah, if you close your eyes, and I don't know if you're sitting down or standing up or laying down, but however you are, become aware of your body in time and space. Maybe notice your pulse, maybe notice your posture, maybe notice if any particular muscles are loose or tight, and then focus on your breathing, taking a good deep breath. Hold the breath, and then let that breath go. And with your eyes closed, just that moment of stillness. Maybe you can sense a settling inside of you, and then when you're ready, just open your eyes. For some people, that's how it feels. That's kind of as far as it goes. They have a sense of inner focus, maybe you want to say. Maybe life becomes, just for a moment, a little bit quieter, a little bit simpler. But you are completely there, you're completely aware, you know you've got your eyes closed, you know you can open your eyes at any moment, and you're just kind of looking around inside of yourself. Yeah. So sometimes maybe that's it. Maybe that's as deep as it goes. But let's try this. So imagine that you're going to the cinema. You're going to see a film that you've been looking forward to for a couple of months. Maybe there's been a massive build-up of hype around this film, and the reviews have come out, and it's a fantastic film, and everybody's thrilled to bits of it. And you've got your ticket, and you arrive at the cinema. And maybe you have to show your ticket. Maybe you have to go up some escalators, the magical escalators of joy. And then you come up to the top, and maybe there's a concession stand, and you can smell the hot dogs and the popcorn and the salty popcorn and the sweet popcorn. And there's a whole range of multicolored bright sweets and maybe different soda fountains, who knows what. And maybe you get something, maybe you walk on through, and then you find the number, golden number for your screen, and you walk into that little tunnel, find yourself in the darkness, your eyes start to adjust. There's the big screen in front of you, all the chairs. You have to find your particular chair. Imagine that you can find the chair right in the middle of the whole of the range of seats. It's a particularly comfortable, big, deep, roomy, comfortable chair. Smack in the middle of the row, you're about 10, 15 rows back. It's all quiet around. There's a few people, but they're kind of far away and you don't really notice them. And you're able to immerse yourself in this moment. And you have the sense of anticipation that the film is going to begin. And maybe there's even a story inside of your mind of what it's going to be like because you've read a couple of reviews. You don't really know, but there's that sense of anticipation, sense of excitement. Okay. And I don't know, maybe there's a curtain across the screen, or maybe the screen is just one of those big metal IMAX screens, and there are stereo speakers going all the way to the back of the room, and they're all starting to do their own things. Okay, and then imagine that the film begins. Okay, when the film begins, there is usually a sort of an implicit mental process that goes on and an implicit bodily process that goes on, which says, right, I am sat here now to watch a film. I know it's make believe. You know, it's a little bit like a long time ago in a galaxy far away. You instantly kind of choose to suspend that critical faculty, to suspend your disbelief and just enjoy, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours of make believe. You find yourself at ease. It's just a story. Yeah. Your body kind of settles into the chair. Maybe you take a nice deep breath. It's like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to forget about my thoughts, my troubles, whatever it is that's on my list of to do, all that nonsense. Just for a moment, I'm going to enjoy this film, and that's enough for me. Okay. So you have that sensation of choosing to shift your state. And that is very important. There is a direct parallel between that and what goes on in hypnosis. But then let's kind of change the metaphor a little bit. So now imagine that instead of the film, whatever it was that you were going to see coming on screen, imagine that in that moment, everything on the screen is a reflection of your mind. And you can see the various thoughts flitting around on the screen. And imagine that the screen, in actual fact, is more like a sort of a 3D computer. So if you want, you can look at any of those thoughts and you can kind of tap on them with your mind and you can drill into them, or you can just let them float off. And you can notice all of those thoughts. And then if you look down below, you can start to notice a symbolic representation of all of your feelings, and you can relate to those feelings. And when you feel the feelings in your body, you see them on the screen, or when you see them on the screen, you feel them in your body. And then you notice that the film is being projected onto the screen and that it's coming from behind, and you can not only look at the screen, but you can go behind in the projectionist's room and you can see the projectionist and you can see the machinery by which these thoughts are being projected, that some of them are coming up onto the screen, that others, they don't even seem to appear on the screen, but they're there in the workings, in the mechanism, in the back of the projection room. Okay, maybe you can actually look at the operator of the projection and you can see what's going on in their mind and you can notice their thoughts on their screen and you can notice their projectionist and you can go into their projection room and look at the mechanisms and the thought process and which things are being sent onto the screen and which are not, and so on and so on and so on. Does that give you an idea of the potential experience of placing yourself in hypnosis is? So you're finding this deeply immersive, recuperative, restorative experience by which you are giving yourself the ability and the permission and the intention, perhaps, or the willingness to explore yourself, to see what you think you are, to feel what you feel, to notice what you notice and to question what you notice, to start to see the machinery which is involved in the whole process of making the meaning of the stories of your mind. And you can explore that almost like you are Indiana Jones and an adventure, okay? And you're safe. Maybe that makes sense to you, okay? So hypnosis in a way is sort of exploring the cinema of your mind. Now, the depth to which that experience will be immersive, right? The degree to which that will be immersive depends on a number of things. So when I work with someone in a hypnotic session, it's not like I am just placing someone in hypnosis as if I am the operator and they are the subject. It's not like that. It's a collaborative experience. It's almost like a symbiotic experience. My job is to observe what is going on in you. It's to calibrate where you are in the process. It's to utilize whatever you are doing to help you experience the experience to the degree that is right for you in that moment based upon where you are already at. So what that means is that the rapport between you and I is absolutely critical. So when you're finding someone to work with in a hypnotherapeutic session, rapport is absolutely critical. You want to work with someone who you kind of have the feeling in your gut that they get you, that it feels safe to expose yourself with that individual. I'm not saying that you're going to cry with them, but just imagine that you wanted to cry. Would you feel safe with that individual to do so, right? You want to be able to feel as though somehow or other the other person is on a similar wavelength to you so that you relate to each other, so you can be yourself, right? So that you can go into the experience and really live it as much as you can in that moment without having to second guess what some other person's going to think about you or judge you upon. Yeah, that's why rapport is absolutely essential. And similarly, the other person, the therapist, needs to get you, because my job is to be sensitive to that. It is not only to observe you, but it is to have my own sense of meaning as to what that is. I'm kind of going there with you, although I'm guiding you and helping you along your route wherever you choose to go. I'm, I'm kind of there with you. I'm kind of doing it with you. I'm constantly trying to work out where you are in order to um, compound and expand that sensation in order to expand the possibilities that are inside of you so that you feel completely safe to go and explore whatever comes up. Okay, so to get back to how that feels, for some people that feels wildly alive, right? It's like someone has just, you were looking down a tunnel, and somehow the tunnel has expanded and your vision is almost 360 degrees, and you've never experienced that before. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of having your ears syringed and for like 30 minutes or an hour afterwards, you can hear things on the other side of the room. You can hear conversations going that you would never normally pick up. Unfortunately, then it kind of goes back down to normal. But for that moment, it's quite breathtaking. Imagine that hypnosis might give you a window on yourself, which is a little bit like that. It can feel tremendously vivid, tremendously alive, but only to the extent that you feel comfortable to go there. So it is you, your choices, your goals, your expectation, your prior experience, the degree to which you feel safe, which is going to permit you to explore to the extent that feels right for you in the moment. So that's the reason why these things you get better at them. Yeah, because the more that you do this, the more you start to understand yourself, and the more bandwidth you're prepared to permit yourself. Anyway, end result is you end up with a deeply immersive experience. But that's still not everything. Okay. Now, I am a salesperson for hypnosis. I adore hypnosis. I place myself into self hypnosis most days because it's the ultimate tool, as far as I'm concerned, in my story for understanding myself and resolving my confusions, whatever they may be. Okay. But how can I place that into words for you? So let's compare this with meditation. Okay, so in meditation, what you're doing is you're kind of quietening your mind and permitting whatever comes up to come up. In hypnosis, because you're focusing on yourself in a particular way, you're kind of doing a sort of a mental gymnastics. You are, to the extent that this fits with your story, allowing that conscious chattering part of your mind to go quieter. It doesn't go away completely. It's there, but it's like a sort of a quieter observer. Imagine that you're in the car and your conscious mind, your chattering inner monologue is in the passenger seat next to you. It's not gone completely. It makes sure that everything is contextually safe and appropriate. But within that, it kind of lets you explore the rest. But it hasn't gone away completely, and so therefore you can bring an intention, or you can bring that conscious part of your mind back up and then drop it back down, and bring it back up and drop it back down. So you have a sort of a sense of the broader you, where that chattering conscious part of your mind is an element of you, but it's just a proportion of you. Whereas in your normal waking state, your normal presential state, it kind of feels like most of you, the chattering part of your mind. In hypnosis, it's much quieter. It's there, but it's like one of 1,000 aspects of yourself. But what this means is that you have the ability to interact with yourself. Now, whether you consider that to be a fact or whether you consider that to be a metaphor doesn't really matter. The point is that you can interact with a certain freedom that you don't get when you are consciously trying to think things through. So you may want to explore yourself intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually, within the metaphors of what you come to define your sense of meaning and presence. You're able to explore yourself. And so the things that you normally intellectualize, it's as if you've got a million new extra tools behind you. So you're bringing this extraordinary sense of experience and wisdom as opposed to knowledge. And it's all there. It's all available. It's all graspable. It's all within reach. So you can come with an intention. You can come with a particular goal in mind. You can say, well, look, such and such happened and I was really confused. Or I need to make a certain decision and I'm stuck in between the two. Or I just need to recuperate. I just need 10 minutes to relax and restore my batteries. Or I need to understand someone else's perspective that I don't understand. And so I want to kind of place myself in their shoes. Or there's something that I am focused so intently upon that it's stopping me from focusing upon all these other things. Or, there's 1,001 things. I've got toothache and I'm going to go to the dentist and fix it, but I can't do that for 2 days' time because the dentist doesn't have space. I need a way to get on with my life for those 2 days whilst not focusing to the screaming extent upon the toothache. And so you can divert your attention. You can basically choose where you are shining your torch of attention in order to help you. And that can be in something very specific like that, or it can be in something which is massively, deeply immersive about the understandings that you have about yourself. It can be about finding your trust, your core, your intuition. It can be about examining what you think you are capable of, what you think you're good and bad at. It can be examining the meaning that you have made from experiences that you've been through in the past. The sky is the limit. The horizon is endless. The opportunity set is infinite. And you are in the middle of that. I give you a simple example that just came to me in my mind. Okay, so hypnosis is not a state of eyelids. Okay, you can be in hypnosis with your eyes closed or with your eyes open. And sometimes what I do with people is I'll guide them into hypnosis. We'll go there with an objective in mind, and then they will look at the stories which are maintaining them in the position that they are in whilst in hypnosis, okay? And they'll have some kind of a revelatory understanding of themselves. And maybe that's all that happens. But sometimes what I do is when they're in this experience, when they are living through that kind of broader lens of what it is to experience themselves, I just suggest to them that maybe it would be interesting to open their eyes. And they open their eyes and they're in a room that obviously they've seen before. Now, I do a lot of work by Zoom. So, in actual fact, people will be in their own living room or their own bedroom. But they are opening their eyes whilst maintaining the state of hypnosis, if you want to call it the state, the figure of speech of hypnosis, the story of hypnosis, whatever it is, they are relating to themselves internally, deeply, calmly or excitedly, doesn't really matter, but they are deeply connected with themselves and they've had that as a very, very deeply internally focused experience. And then they open their eyes. and they look around what they think they know. They look at what they think they've already seen that is so familiar. And the thing which is wild about it is the look upon someone's eyes when they see what they already know. And the expanded awareness suddenly goes from just being the internal experience to being everything around them. And they are looking at the things that they thought they knew like a child, with new eyes, with expanded vision, with expanded thought processes, as if everything is free to be reconsidered. And the reason I brought that up is that sense of freedom. And when I say that, I can feel it in my body. There is a tingling sensation in my body. The sense of freedom to release yourself from whatever it is that maintains you kind of defined by your current story. So, as I say, it's not as if your conscious mind disappears completely. It's still there. So it still knows what's going on. You're not going to fly off a cliff edge and go, la la. Okay, that's not how it works. But what you are doing is you are feeling safe enough to re-look at everything that you thought you knew and you saw. It's like you can re-evaluate the things that you thought you knew. And suddenly it's not even what's inside of you that is applicable to, but everything, the entire world. And so you have your own experience of that, okay? You will notice the meaning behind the meaning. You might even get to the point of realizing the difference that makes the difference. You explore the boundaries of what you thought you knew, of what you thought you were sure of, and you start to see that they are more flexible than you thought. They are a little bit more porous. The possibility that you were slightly less sure in your definition than you thought. And so the expanse of possibilities, right? The field of potential at that moment is wide open. And the feeling for that is wildly freeing and truly alive. It's a moment when you can notice beauty. It's the moment when you can notice the purity of what you are, what you feel, how you process your organism in its entirety as a congruent, solid but fluid, beautiful, loving, kind potential, maybe. The image in my mind right now is of all the chains falling off of you and just dissolving into the ground. Which doesn't mean that you're, you know, free from the responsibilities of life, let's say, but you are freeing yourself of the chains by which you define your inner experience. If you go there, then the experience in hypnosis is one of an incredible lightening, of an incredible release of joy, even, perhaps of peace, even. Your conclusions will be your conclusions, but they will occur with a wider potential bandwidth than normally you do in your kind of, whatever you want to call it, your normal conscious state. because the stories that maintain your normal conscious state have just, for a moment, relaxed away. And if you can notice the difference that makes the difference, well, then once that wedge has been opened, the mind expanded can never snap back. Okay, so when you emerge, if you want to call that, from hypnosis, the knowledge, the discoveries that you made there, you can't put that back in a box. You have seen the other side. You have had an experience that contradicts what the chattering mind thought it knew. And when experience contradicts with what you think you know, you have to shift your worldview, even if only a tiny, tiny amount, right? Even if that hinge is very, very stiff, it's very rusty, and it hasn't been moved for a long time. When experience contradicts it, you kind of have to chew on it. And sometimes that happens directly in the hypnotic experience. Sometimes it happens in a dream the following night. Sometimes you wake up the following morning and go, that's what that means. That's what I was chewing on. My conclusions from years ago, they weren't right. Any of this kind of deep realizations by which you define yourself become looser. And so your definition of you, your definition of your place in the world, the definition of your capabilities, the definition of what you thought you knew and your understandings, your need to control the situation, your fear of getting out of hand, any of this and a million other things are somehow freer. They are looser. They are lighter. They are more joyous. They're more beautiful. You can see the beauty inside of yourself. You can trust yourself. You can know your inner intuition, your inner compass. So ultimately, it is a joyous gift. I'm not particularly religious, but it feels like a gift from the gods. It feels like something that permits you to look at the world around you with fresh eyes, like you never ever thought before. I think that's sufficient on how hypnosis feels. Yeah. So the conclusion is find someone who can guide you into hypnosis that you have a sense of trust with, that you have a sense that they get you, that you feel able to be yourself around them, that you don't feel as though you need to show off to them or show up to them or pretend to them in any way whatsoever. You can be yourself with them and you can use their skill to get you where you want to go freely. Yeah. To do that with an open-minded sense of curiosity, because your experience from one time to the next will be different. Your experience will become more immersive the more you permit it to do so, which means the more experienced you become, the more at ease with the process of going into hypnosis you are, the more immersive that process will become. The more you trust yourself, the more you're able to explore the perimeter of what you think is you. And so the sensation is deeply explorative. It is deeply comforting. It is freeing. It is releasing. It is knowing or maybe remembering. And you end up feeling at one. Maybe with yourself, maybe with everything around you, you know. You end up able to understand the projectionist, to go back to the to the cinema metaphor. You get to see behind the stories of your mind, and you kind of discover what I consider the self, the one behind the one. And that it brings such a divine sense of humility that you are able to discover self-acceptance, self-esteem, self-confidence, inner freedom, authenticity, appreciation, humility. Your ego is kind of put to the side. You start to know what is deeply meaningful and what is meaningless, and where the boundaries between them lie, what your true motivations in life are, what is meaningful to you. You trust all of you, and you trust the conclusions that you come to from that, in the full knowledge that perhaps those conclusions are not as rigid as you thought you were, but it all becomes okay. If I carry on, I have the feeling that I'm going to start repeating myself, because I'm at that point now of evangelizing about how it feels. But the crucial thing is that that feeling gives you the permission to explore yourself, to understand the meaning inside of you, to understand the stories which entrap you, and therefore to be able to resolve so many things in life. So many things in life. I could continue to list the things that you could solve in life through hypnosis all day long, and I wouldn't reach the end of the list. Okay, I reckon I've been talking for about half an hour, so I'll leave it at that. If that is of interest, by all means, get in contact with me. This is my job. I am absolutely thrilled to show people how to discover this side of themselves, whatever that means for them. And especially if you feel as though, maybe you're quite rigid in your thinking, or your imagination wouldn't let you go there. We're all able to find ourselves in a state of hypnosis without even realizing. Even the stories that say you would not be able to do such a thing, in itself you could consider a hypnotic trance, if that would be useful to you. So by all means, you can contact me, or you can find somebody. What you want to do, if you find someone that's going to lead you into hypnosis, you want to kick the tires. You want to understand them. You want to a certain extent, understand their values, because you want to find someone whose values are kind of aligned with yours. See, the thing is, it's not just a case of knowledge. It's not a case of technique. Anybody can learn the technique of hypnosis. It's got nothing to do with that. It's all to do with that sensitivity, that intuition, that connection with the other person. My job is partly guide. It's partly, you know, walking alongside you wherever you go, and trying to work out where you are and help you to feel safe, so that you can work through what emerges in your mind. It's partly kind of conflict resolution, where different parts of yourself may each have a very, very strong point of view, and kind of neither wants to back down. That I can have that sort of mediator role. But my main role is to deal with what emerges in you, which obviously I can't plan for, right? The whole purpose of my being there is to accept that you know where to go, not where I should lead you. But that means that I have to be incredibly sensitive as to where you are at the moment that we're going through. So we have a conversation. And then to come up with ways of looking at that, or meandering my thoughts as to how to look at that with the way that you already are choosing to go. And so that's why it's such a collaborative process. And so that's why it's extremely important that you find someone that you find credible, that you find is cohesive with your current core values, let's say, your current principles. Yeah. You don't want someone that necessarily thinks the way that you do, because then you're just going to compound what you already believe in. But you want to have trust or faith, or this person must have a credibility that resonates with you in order that you feel comfortable to explore yourself freely. Yeah, to come to conclusions about yourself freely, and to use that other person whenever that is necessary, let's say. Yeah. Um, Voila. Thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. Um, Check me out on my website and send me an email or write some comments down below. I would love to know, have you already had an experience of hypnosis? If so, what was that like? Does the way that I describe it to you, does that feel, similar to your experience? I would love to know. Everybody's different. Okay, thank you very much. I'm not going to stop now, otherwise I'll start blathering. All right, cheers. Take care. Bye.